back to the WIA Girls Basketball State Tournament Bracket Reveal Show. We've got one division down, four more to go. Let's keep it rolling right into Division 2, starting with Sectional 1. The number 1 overall seed that goes to Rice Lake, members of the Big Rivers Conference. They will face the winner of Merrill and New Richmond for their first round matchup. Rhinelander earning the number 5 seed. They will take on 4-seeded Menominee. On the other side, the 3 seed goes to Mosinee. They will face the winner of 11-seeded Wiaa East and 6th-seeded Medford. For the 7-10 matchup, it's River Falls, the 7 seed, taking on Ashland. The winner of that game will face 2-seeded Lakeland. Another number 1 seed is out. That is Shawano. They will face the winner of Antigo and Green Bay East. And then in the 4-5 matchup, Wapaka receiving the 4 seed and taking on 5-seeded Fox Valley Lutheran. On the other side, Luxembourg Casco is the 3 seed. They will face 6th-seeded Pulaski. In the 7-10 meeting, New London taking on 10-seeded Green Bay Southwest. The winner of that matchup will face 2-seeded Marinette. Let's take a minute to talk about Rice Lake, a top 10 team in Division 2, looking for their first state title. Norm, what do you like about Rice Lake?
Well, they play in the Big Rivers Conference, so they play bigger schools usually, and they do play a pretty good non-conference schedule. One of those wins is against Lakeland, who's also in that sectional, and they have a superstar in Adeline Shepley for them. You know, a ton of Division I offers for her, and also Addison Schmidt for them, a forward. So I think when you have 2 players that can do some damage, that's going to help them, and I think they do have maybe a little edge over Lakeland because 2 dogs versus 1 star with what Lakeland have is in the We Met Girl.
Okay, now we'll go to Sectional 2. Beaver Dam, members of the Badger Large Conference, receiving the number 1 seed. They will face the winner of 9-seeded Slinger and 8-seeded West Bend West in the first round. For the 4-5 meeting, 4-seeded Ashwaubenon will take on 5-seeded Menasha. On the other side, the 3 seed goes to Waupun. They will take on the winner of 11-seed West Bend East and 6th seed Port Washington. In the 7-10 meeting, it's Plymouth, the 7th seed, facing Sheboygan South. And the winner of that game has the chance to play 2-seeded West Appear. Continuing on, the number 1 seed goes to New Berlin Eisenhower, members of the Woodland West Conference. For their first matchup, they will face the winner of 9-seeded Wauwatosa East and 8-seeded Brookfield Central. Milwaukee Lutheran is the 5 seed, facing 14 seed Milwaukee Vincent. On the other side, Waukesha West, the number 3 seed, they will meet 6-seeded Grafton. New Berlin West, the 7th seed, matching up against 2-seeded Cedarburg. Continuing to Sectional 3, West Salem closing in on the Cooley Conference crown. They are the number 1 seed. West Salem will take on the winner of Tomah and La Crosse Logan. Now for the 4-5 matchup on Alaska as the 4 seed, they will meet 5-seeded Sauk Prairie. On the other side, to Forest, the number 3 seed, they will take on the winner of 11-seeded Baraboo and 6-seeded Sparta. In the 7-10 matchup, it's Reedsburg, the 7 seed, facing 10-seeded Portage, and the winner of that game will take on 2-seeded La Crosse Central. The number 1 seed here going to the defending Division 3 champions of Edgewood, who moved up a division this year. They will take on the winner of 9-seeded Jefferson and 8-seeded Fort Atkinson. The number 5 seed is Delavan Darien, meeting the number 4 seed Monona Grove. On the other side, it's 3-seeded Stoughton. Awaiting their opponent, they will take on the winner of 11-seed Monroe and 6-seeded Elkhorn. Mount Horeb, the 7 seed, facing 10-seeded McFarland, and the winner of that game will take on 2-seeded Milton. The top-ranked team in Division 2 and the defending Division 3 state champions of Edgewood had another phenomenal season, capturing the Badger Small Conference crown. I asked Crusaders head coach Laura Stavanis if repeating at state has been on their mind this season.
I think we talk about repeats. I think it's a new team. We've talked about that and being on a new journey. And obviously we're in Division 2, which, has its own challenges, not knowing the teams nearly as well. But we've embraced the challenge of just, trying to be as good as we can be. It doesn't always happen, but, we've fared well thus far. And we know that there's some really great teams out there in our own sectional and then past that. And so, we're just trying to get better.
And before we continue, Daisha, I want to get your thoughts on Edgewood as they look to make another state title run.
Coach was being so humble. Edgewood,
She always is.
She always is.
Edgewood is
That's
the
Coach Staff.
hottest team in Wisconsin right now. They haven't lost since November, so winning is contagious, right? When you win a couple games, like want to keep this thing going. Then when you start winning 20-plus games, it's like we want to see the finish line here. Everyone knows their position and role on the team. Of course, they have Anna Miller, who's their leading scorer, but all the other girls in the supporting cast will buy in. You never know who's going to be hot that night, and that's what I love about this team.
Yeah, definitely. And to go off of what you said there, and they haven't had Anna Miller for a couple games because of illness, and they went out and beat Laconia in overtime without her. So I think it just shows sometimes when you're forced to have depth in a season, it helps you out for the postseason. And I think that's one of those prizes there. And Beanie Thompson missed a few games with injury too, and I think again that's going to help them going down the stretch as long as everyone's healthy.
A lot of depth on that Edgewood team. Let's wrap up Division II with the final sectional. Wauwatosa East, members of the Greater Metro Conference, the number 1 seed. They will face Nicolay, the number 8 seed. The number 5 seed going to Golda Meir. They will take on 4-seeded Wisconsin Lutheran. On the other side, it's 3-seeded Pius Catholic meeting 6-seeded Shorewood. The number 2 seed goes to Whitefish Bay. They will take on the 7 seed in St. Augustine's Prep Academy. To wrap up Division II, the champions of the Southern Lakes Conference, Union Grove is the number 1 overall seed. They will take on the winner of the 8-9 matchup, 8-seeded Waterford and 9-seeded Cudahy. On the other side, Greenfield is the 3 seed. They will meet the winner of 11-seeded South Milwaukee and 6-seeded Martin Luther. And then at 7-seeded Racine Park, they will meet 10-seeded Wilmount Union. The winner of that game has the opportunity to face off against number 2 Whitnall. Now looking at that final sectional, it's loaded with ranked teams in Division II. Who do you guys think has the best chance of making it out of that sectional?
Whew, that sectional was tough.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm going with Wauwatosa East.
Okay.
I think they have the edge there, but you know, Whitefish Bay's been playing some very good basketball. They beat Homestead both times they played them this season, and they're really showing that they can do some damage. And you can't forget about Pius and Wisco either. So I mean, there's a lot of very good teams that could come out of that sectional.
What stands out about Whitefish Bay is the point guard who makes them go.
Okay.
Council. I mean, she's quick, she's shifty, you don't know how to guard, and then she'll dive on the floor for loose balls. So I think they're sneaky good. Of course, Pius is well coached. You've got Scott Herrick, who's won a gold ball before. So I think some interesting things have potential to happen.
All right, you guys are making me excited. Coming up, we continue our WIA Girls Basketball Reveal Show with Division III. Stick with us.